I haven't really pre-thought this very much, so it might get a little stumbly, but I wanted to talk a little bit about holons and the complexity that we face when we're dealing with holons. Uh, Ken Wilber says, the idea is it hurts more, but it bothers you less when you complexify. So I'll reiterate what a holon is, because some people might not know that. And the idea is that a holon essentially transcends and includes that which went before. So our atoms are transcended and included by cells, which are transcended and included by organs, where our body transcends and includes our body, our organs. And there is a notion potentially, and I actually don't hold this necessarily, but that, there's a higher body that is already present that we're being held in. So we'd be like cells to that. That's kind of a Gaian type presentation. And I don't think it's wholly wrong, but might be a little different than the straight conceptualization that we might have here. So I was just thinking about, if there is such a thing as complexification of our thoughts, and that indeed you're carrying more when you complexify, the higher up the ladder you go, the more the ladder sways, kind of thing. Sorry, I'm gardening a little bit here, getting ready for the summer planting season. There is a sense in which, indeed, there's more chaos that you face if you go up, and you're prone to more problems in some important sense, because you're having to deal with things that are very much outside the norm, right? But it bothers you less, potentially, even if that chaos is quite real. There's a sense in which you can move through it a little bit more because you've moved through quite a bit already, if that makes sense. In other words, there is a sense in which potentially you've dealt with a lot of slings and arrows in your existence to be where you are, oftentimes. But there's often, of course, people that are very refined in their particular position in life, in what they're doing, even if it's a very simple existence. So that might be the difference between complexity and presence, or something along those lines, in that lots of people in the rural, I think Kurt talked about this a little bit, lots of people in the rural outback of Arkansas, they might have great presence, but we'd consider them rednecks oftentimes. That's okay. They are exhibiting deep qualities in that state, in that situation of the situation of their mind complexity, mental complexity. So I guess what I was going to really hint at here is that it is something that we're going to have to face probably a lot more than people are open to at this point. If we're moving into a time, and I think there's almost no question about it, of exponential change, right? Talked about in and by most innovators, people in Silicon Valley and these sorts of things, they know this very well through Moore's Law and whatnot. So we're going to have to deal with complexity that we probably wouldn't want to deal with in some ways, but on the other hand, it's going to bring great potentials for our existence. We see it already in the news, things like these anti-aging medicines that could prolong life indefinitely, potentially. The crazy advancements in virtual reality. These are things that are unbelievable just a few years ago, and it's speeding up. So we're going to have to deal with the swaying of the ladder as we continue to climb it. I do think this is just a really high philosophical notion that is actually very simple, but that at the other end of this complexity, there will be, I think, a great deal of simplicity, actually in a very immediate sense, potentially, and then an even deeper simplicity not too far along after that. That's pretty deep, and it might get really weird, because that's where I'm really pushing into the notion of the singularity, if there is such a thing. So Raymond Kurzweil, he looks at the exponential trends of technology, and in and around 2045, we see this trend, going almost to what we consider infinite potentials, like infinitely beyond, in some sense, the capacities of the human mind to comprehend, if this exponential trend continues, which is an open question. But I think on the other side of that is actually going to lay a deep simplicity with a new kind of being. It takes a great deal of argument to make, and the only way I can make that argument is through a lot of patterns that I feel I might have recognized, but it might not be right either. So that's an open question. We'll have to wait and see. 2045. Remind me. Okay, cheers, guys.